Hey guys, it's the Classic Cinemac here today. Happy New Year to everyone right now. I know it is New Year's Eve and today is the last day of 2021, and I just wanted to greet everyone a belated Merry Christmas, belated Happy Holidays, and I am so excited to be making this video for y'all tonight right now. And it has been 2.5 months since I have uploaded anything, and that is because 2021 has been a super busy year for me in general because I'm trying to finish up my undergrad degree. I am trying to finish up my student film, and my student film has really taken up so much time this year. And I've been trying to spend a lot of time, filming my shots and getting those scenes finished. And it's also nice to try out some new activities behind production. And even though I have not been so busy on YouTube this year, it has been giving me, a full chance to come up here and share my Criterion Blu Rays for my last video of 2021 because, as I've stated, this has been a very busy year for me, and it's probably been busy for you as well. But I do want to conclude the year by sharing off my favorite Criterion Blu rays that I've recently purchased. I do not have every Criterion Blu ray or DVD presented in this video that I recently got, but I will share them in another video. I just want to share some of the favorites that I got recently, and I am so happy to be doing this right now. The first movie I am very excited to share is Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing from 1989. This is a fantastic movie to own on the Criterion Collection. This is my favorite Spike Lee movie, and I absolutely love the Blu-ray design of this film because this is a movie that is very philosophical about prejudice, racism, and the way that Spike Lee manages to act in this movie along with the other actors and characters. The way this film is made is very wonderful. I love this movie very much, and this movie is, of course, from 1989, and 32 to 33 years later, this film still plays a big role in our society, and it's very relevant to see the film's themes about racial prejudice still apply, unfortunately, in the 21st century. But this movie is very influential. It's very powerful. It really, shows everybody what it's like to be, in the neighborhoods of New York and to experience how prejudice was in 1989. And the way of how this film presented those themes still applies to what we see today. And that's basically the reason why I love Do the Right Thing so much. And the way the film looks on Criterion Blu Ray is wonderful. I mean, you not only get to see the movie in an HD quality, but you also get to see the behind-the-scenes featurette of how Spike Lee and his crew were able to film in this New York neighborhood in the summer of 1989, and what was going on behind the scenes, the sets, how they wrote the script, and this is the Blu-ray edition of Do the Right Thing from the Criterion Collection. It is very awesome. And once you open the Criterion Blu-ray, the artwork is just beautiful. You get Sal's Pizzeria, and then you get the other people from the New York neighborhood. And if you look at the disc, you get the booklet about the film and what was going on for the journals of the behind-the-scenes featurette. It's wonderful to own on Criterion Blu-ray, which is why I am happy to show y'all Do the Right Thing. The second movie I am very excited to share a part of my Blu-ray collection of the Criterion Collection is Close Up by Abbas Kiarostami. This movie came out in 1990, and this is a hybrid fictionalized documentary. Close Up is a very interesting movie because this is a movie that makes a connection between fictional and non-fictional storytelling through this documentary-like style that the film is presented through. Close Up was a big deal for the Iranian film industry, and Abbas Kiarostami was an Iranian filmmaker who was very known to make a lot of philosophical movies about life, how we deal with ourselves, how does the universe work. So people are wondering what Close Up is about, and this movie tells the true story about this fraudulent person who tried to impersonate this other Iranian filmmaker named Mohsen Makhmalbaf. And parts of the film is scripted, while the trial scenes that are shown even in the film are non-scripted. They are in the moment. This is a movie that is very special, and I would love to review this film at some point because it's a great movie to dissect and analyze, and how to basically study a film about how a movie can basically combine documentary and fictionalized storytelling into one film. Close Up is very special, and Abbas Kiarostami really delivers in this film. I mean, 31, 32 years later, it's great, and it's a film I actually watch every once in a while. The quality is amazing, and the Blu-ray is just awesome. If you look at the disc of the Criterion Blu Ray, it's just really great. You get the booklet of the behind the scenes, and you also get the case of the film, which looks wonderful. And that is the reason why I am happy to share with y'all the film Close Up on Criterion Blu Ray. The third movie in my list is pretty relevant to today, and that is because very recently Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand have their new movie, The Tragedy of Macbeth, which is an A24 and Apple TV production directed by Joel Coen. And the film that I am about to present is closely related, and in fact, it's a retelling of the Shakespeare classic of Macbeth, and that happens to be Throne of Blood by Akira Kurosawa. This movie is wonderful. It is Kurosawa's retelling of the Shakespeare classic Macbeth, and the way that this film looks from 1957 is wonderful. This is a movie that stars Kurosawa's favorite actor, Toshiro Mifune, and it stars him as this Macbeth-like character who is a samurai warrior slash general who wants to gain honor for himself, and he wants to achieve as much power and pride as much as possible so he can be the king or the samurai emperor of this fortress. And when you watch this film, you can tell that Kurosawa was heavily inspired by Shakespeare's Macbeth and the way how the plot goes by, the signifier and the ideas that are presented, and especially with the battle scenes and how the film ends. And despite some of the liberties that Kurosawa took while making Throne of Blood, you can still respect it because this is a movie that is just so creative, original, and imaginative all at the same time. Throne of Blood from 57 is also pretty brutal, especially with the way that the film ends, which I will not give away. It's pretty brutal how they finish off Toshiro Mifune's character. And when you see the quality on Blu-ray, it's amazing for 1957. This is a movie I watch every once in a while. It's a great Criterion purchase. I'm happy that I have this. So this is the artwork of the film, which has Toshiro Mifune's character. You have a screenshot of him from the film over here, and when you open it, you get the disc, which of course is the artwork, and the booklet of the film, which is another great addition to the Criterion Collection. The fourth film in my list that I'm super happy to share is a French film, and this is by Francois Truffaut. This is a part of the French New Wave. Came out in 1959, and that happens to be The 400 Blows by Truffaut himself, or as the French call it, Les Quatre Cents Coups. So this movie is a semi-fictionalized autobiography about Francois Truffaut's childhood, and the name of the kid in the movie is Antoine. And Antoine is this juvenile delinquent boy who lives in the streets of Paris, and he's going through a lot. His parents don't have an easy marriage. He likes to skip school. He does not follow class instructions, and he just does anything he can to just goof off in the streets of Paris and France. So this movie is very creative with how it presents Antoine's story and how he gets away with, how he escapes from the authorities, how he disobeys his parents, and the activities he does in Paris. It's very funny, and it's also kind of a film that is just that creative and original, and how we can tell our own personal stories of childhood through creative liberties, creative differences, and the way of how this film was made because of the black and white, the music, and the shots. This film is just magnificent. I love it very much. The acting is fantastic, and for 1959, since this movie is about to be 63 years old. This is a film that really inspires indie filmmaking with, some of the creative choices that Truffaut has made and how, storytelling goes when you're trying to tell your own story. The 400 Boils, or Les Quatre Sans Queue, is a very special movie, and if you look at Antoine on the Criterion Blu Ray cover, that's him. And if you just open it, you have Antoine again, and then the Blu Ray disc. I would love to watch this movie again. I remember loving The 400 Blows so much, and if you really want to get into French cinema, this is a great film to watch. The next three movies that I'm about to share are the ones that I find the most exciting for this video. The first two that I'm about to present are some of my favorites, and if y'all know me, I love Wes Anderson so much. Yes, I did see The French Dispatch, and I'm sorry, I've not uploaded my review of The French Dispatch. I hope to upload a review on it someday, but I did want to present a Blu-ray that I got from Anderson, and that happens to be his very first film, Bottle Rocket, from 1996. This is a movie that basically skyrocketed the career of Wes Anderson, Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson, and it was a movie that had a very small budget at the time. In fact, this is Wes Anderson's first full-length feature film. Bottle Rocket was originally a short 18 to 20 minute film that Wes Anderson made in 1992, and when Anderson was making that, he was only 23, and Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson were 24, 25, and this was basically the movie that introduced cinema to Wes Anderson. This movie is a quirky comedy about these two friends that are literally the worst bank robbers in the world, and basically they're trying to have this plan in which they can start their lives, but the problem is that they suck so badly as bank robbers, and the movie is just so funny. I mean, you can't help but laugh every single second when you watch Bottle Rocket. This movie is just so insanely funny, creative, bizarre. It's basically a film where it really introduced people to how Wes Anderson makes his movies, and when you watch Bottle Rocket, you just cannot believe that this is what began Anderson's career. Not every single shot in this film is symmetrical like in films like Grand Budapest, Fantastic Mr. Fox, or even The French Dispatch, but this is a movie that just inspires young filmmakers that once you start making something, it's also on your way to getting into the film industry. And, this is a great failure success story for Wes Anderson because for people who do not know, Bottle Rocket, when Wes Anderson made this film, had the worst box office opening of 1996. It only made like $1,000, literally $1,000 in its opening weekend, and it was so bad. But the thing is that this movie, despite some of its failures, really helped Anderson at the end because he learned a lot from the mistakes he made. People actually thought that this was a great idea. In fact, in 99, when it was about to become 2000, Martin Scorsese named Bottle Rocket one of his favorite films of the 90s decade. And so I just think Bottle Rocket is a fantastic movie for young filmmakers that want to be filmmakers one day. It will inspire them to see how we can create some bizarre ideas, and they may seem stupid the way we think they are, but they're really going to help us in our future. That's why I love Bottle Rocket so much. So this is the cover with Owen and Luke Wilson, and that's where they stay for the motel, and the artwork is very beautiful, and when you open it, it's their 75-year plan, the Criterion Blu Ray. I love talking about this movie. I'd love to review Bottle Rocket at some point. The next film I am super happy to share, and this is another Wes Anderson film, and this is a film that doesn't really get enough love or buzz because it's not Anderson's most favorite or his best, but it's a movie I have grown to love over several screenings, and this has to be the Darjeeling Limited, and this came out in 2007, and it stars Adrian Brody, Owen Wilson, and Jason Schwartzman, and this is a movie by Wes Anderson that many will have trouble watching because not too much happens in this film. I mean, of course, a lot of things happen, but it's not as adventurous as Fantastic Mr. Fox or Grand Budapest. This movie is about three brothers. They are the Whitman brothers, played by Adrian Brody, Owen Wilson, and Jason Schwartzman. And they are trying to reconnect with each other throughout a train trip in India. And as they are in this train trip together, they are beginning to realize their own struggles, what it means to stay as a family. And they're also trying to reach their mother, who is a nun in this orphanage in India, in this monastery. And so as they're trying to reach their mother, they're just trying to reflect, how can we live our lives and how can we be brothers in this family? Do we think that we can be friends in real life if we have never been brothers? And this movie, although it took a while for me to love, it really grew on me because it's a very complex movie about family and how family relationships are not easy as you really think it is. In fact, one of Anderson's earlier work, Royal Tenenbaums, really discusses those issues. But Darjeeling is a little different because Royal Tenenbaums had a very different approach to how Anderson approached family issues. But Darjeeling Limited is very beautiful. I mean, the cinematography is symmetrical. The way India looks in this film is majestic and wonderful. And it's just that movie that just gives you a breather. And when you watch it, it's that type of film where you feel relaxed and you kind of are engaged with all these brothers' experiences in life. And when they talk about how they came to be on this train trip through India, you really grow to kind of like them. They're not perfect, and they're not meant to be perfect. But instead, you just grow to understand why they act the way they are, who they are, and what really made them join this trip through India. And that's how beautiful this film is. So this is the Criterion cover of the Darjeeling Limited, and there's some special features. And the disc is beautiful. I mean, if you look at the disc, this was the back of the slipcover. The booklet, this is the booklet over here. It's very wonderful. This is a great Criterion movie to own, and I love seeing this on Blu Ray. And as Sid said from Toy Story, the big one. Because this is a big one. I'm so happy to share this, and this is the Bruce Lee Collection on Criterion Blu Ray! This is an epic Blu Ray collection to own because it has the biggest martial arts superstar ever, Bruce Lee, because this is a movie collection that has Bruce Lee's greatest films from the early 70s. Enter the Dragon, The Way of the Dragon, The Big Boss. Even his unfinished film from 1978, The Game of Death, and unfortunately Lee was only able to complete a little bit of it because of his death in 1973. But this is a movie collection I love having, and if you watch the films, especially Enter the Dragon, which is my personal favorite from Bruce Lee, the quality is amazing. The behind-the-scenes featurettes are awesome. And if you dig deep inside the collection, you have Bruce Lee's famous kicking poses, his famous martial arts and karate poses. And if you open it, you even get a Bruce Lee poster. This is so awesome. I mean, if you love Bruce Lee, this is the best to have on the Criterion Collection. And let's see, if you have all the discs over here of all his films, and then you have a lot of extra supplements. This is very epic because Bruce Lee is one of my favorite superstars on martial arts. I love him and Jackie Chan, and as I said before in my Enter the Dragon review, Jackie Chan was heavily inspired by Bruce Lee, but this really is the icing on the cake. I love this so much. I love having the Bruce Lee collection on Criterion Blu Ray, and I am so happy to conclude 2021, my bad, by sharing all of these magnificent Blu-rays on Criterion Collection Blu-rays. And that is my last video of 2021. Whew, it has been such a busy year, guys. I cannot believe that this has been the least active I have ever been on YouTube, because normally I would kick out some great movie reviews. I would share them with y'all, and it would be so much fun. But as I stated at the beginning of this video, busy year with studying and my student film, especially since my student film has had a very constrained and busy schedule. But I am very happy to pop in this new Criterion Blu Ray show off with everyone. And I would just like to say still thank you all so much. Despite how busy that's been, how busy it's been, I'm glad to say that 2021 was the year that I began my filmmaking journey with my student film. And I'm really hoping, crossing fingers, that I make more movie reviews in 2022. And I think it's a great beginning of a new year as we come. And I think 2022 will be an even greater year because there will be a lot more opportunities, which I'm also hoping for. But thank y'all so much and have a happy new year to everybody.